So listen, moving to Miami, I've been here, like I said, it's going on a year. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I am picking up on, right, is how the norm now, even GQ just did an article on this guy who's like, hey man, I take this much TRT. Now it's just in the open, right?
Yep.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah,
Are you
sure.
comfortable with
Of course,
how
yeah.
that's become the norm
Yeah,
of
I'm
today?
48 years old, so yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's like this is something that I've got guys who are 25 asking me this question. Like,
Well,
hey,
that's
man,
ridiculous. So
see what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. No, I mean, I think it's absurd if anyone. I mean, and again, to each its own.
Yeah.
Whatever, if a doctor prescribes you, I mean, if you have a problem, whatever. But I mean,
Right.
to me, if you're under 38, you really shouldn't be messing around with that stuff, in my opinion. I mean,
Gotcha.
and again, that's just my humble opinion. But I definitely would tell anybody that is thinking about it
Right.
to not until they absolutely, until their blood work is showing that it's just not working naturally.
Yeah.
But I highly suggest getting your blood work down at least once a year,
Gotcha.
And then if you have the money and the means, do it 3 times a year. Do it every 4 months. I mean, do it quarterly, and the blood doesn't lie. So it's a great marker to see where your hormone levels are at. Where you can even go a step further. You can do the P urine test. That will tell you if you're low in your vitamins and your minerals also. So there's ways to do it the smart way and the right way.
Right.
And, now we have peptides, we have, all this other stuff. So I would say when it comes to anything HRT or testosterone or hormone replacement therapy, whatever you want to call it, go through a doctor, but then also be aware that some of these doctors are idiots out there, because now you're dealing with everyone is doing it, So to me, a lot of these teledoctors, like telemedicine doctors that are, sitting behind a screen and just asking you 3 questions, and then after they ask you 3 questions, they're like, okay, and they prescribe you whatever.
Right.
Like, I think that's ridiculous. So my doctor, I mean, you talk about, he's an osteopath. Shout out to Dr. Goddard, the Osteopathic Center. They're so detailed. I mean, they don't even let you, like, they force you to do as many tests as possible just to make sure that what's going on is what's going on. If they'll do a test, and then if they see something that they don't like in that test, we'll do another test.
True.
So I think testing is very important. And just know your markers and know where you are, and don't be blindly. At the end of the day, if you're blindly taking, drugs or hormones or whatever, then essentially you're doing steroids. If you're blindly doing it, ordering it from some website, black market stuff. But if you're going, at the end of the day, like, all my stuff has my name on it, and says this is for Jonathan Manning Sumner, my birthday, it's from a doctor. So it's all, it's all legit.
I just kept thinking about it too. It was like when I saw you, I was like, okay, you're in this culture so heavily that it's got to be a norm for you, where you see the guy who's either asking you about it or saying like, hey man, like, where but even
What's interesting though, it's interesting that you said that.
Yeah.
I don't get asked that.
Really?
I don't. Like, I'm
guess I'm
dead
the
serious.
first.
It's weird. I know. I got asked that more when I played football.
True. Okay.
Because I think I was so yoked,
You were big.
and I was natural, all natural, but I was 240 pounds, 8% body fat,
Right.
With a 22-inch neck. So everywhere I went, people were like, oh, he's on steroids, So I actually got accused of being on steroids when I was natural, versus now I'm 48 years old and doing some HRT and no one ever asked me anything.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I get asked, about workouts, about supplements. I get asked about nutrition a lot, but I never really get any, like, people sliding into my DMs asking me like what steroids to take or anything. Maybe it's because I'm not that jacked. I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, there's a big difference between these guys that are like yoked,
Yeah.
like, it's obvious they're on stuff. So those are the guys that are
Yeah.
getting asked what to take. I'm not big enough for anybody to be like, what are you taking,
It's even weird because now you can tell you've seen it. You're like, all right, you know the guy who's on it. You know the guy who's not on it. Okay.
For 100%.
This is a bold question. I'm just
Yeah.
going to ask you
Yeah.
too. All right. So the NFL, right? It would seem, and I've had this conversation with a few of my own friends. It
Yeah.
would seem that, if you wanted your athletes to be faster, bigger, stronger, last longer in the league, make more money off of your moneymaker, which is these guys. Like, I'm sure you saw Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Sooner or later, you look at these guys, you're like, something's a little off. Or what are your thoughts
No,
on that? What are you thinking?
Honestly, they are legitimate genetic freaks.
You think so?
No, I'm positive and the reason why I say it is because they get tested so hardcore now.
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah.
bro, they can't take anything.
Okay.
Like now it's so strict that they can't take a supplement like without, because so I trained Josh Sweat, played for the Super Bowl champs Philadelphia Eagles. He just signed with the Arizona Cardinals, and I trained him this offseason. And he was showing me the list of banned stuff, and it's insane. Like they can't take nothing. Jeez. Like they can barely take creatine, which is perfectly fine for you to take. So, so I don't, unless they're doing some kind of crazy blood doping, whatever. I actually don't think guys are that. Now I think the NBA is a whole nother story.
Interesting.
So,
yeah, because
they don't test. They don't test like the NFL.
They don't do that.
Yeah. So then the NBA probably is rampant with all kinds of stuff. But
okay, I didn't.
But the NFL, I don't think a bunch of guys. Now, I mean, again, I don't know. I mean, you never know. I mean, the guys could figure out a way. There's always a way. There's always a way.
That's what I was saying. I was like, out of all the people who would know, I feel like you'd be the guy who's seen enough of it, where you'd be like, no, that guy's on something.
Well, yeah, definitely. If someone is, but again, you have to be around them, and you also have to you have to be around them. So seeing him on TV, like a Myles Garrett, like that's him. Like he's him. He's the guy. Like
you see him, you're like, dude, what?
Yeah, I don't.
Give me
because he's been. Another thing too is you got to look at their track record, and you got to look at their historical, a lot of times, like let's say Barry Bonds. And by the way, I love Barry Bonds. I mean, he was one of my favorite baseball players ever, and I don't think he did anything wrong personally. I really don't. But if you look from the time pre and post, it was like a totally different person, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, come on, man. Like, come on.
I thought you were going to say Jose Canseco first.
Jose had really good genetics, though. But I mean, Barry Bonds was this big around, then all of a sudden he was freaking jacked. So that's what I mean. Like a Myles Garrett, he's been big pretty much his whole life, And that's another thing too that people don't understand. Your muscle takes a long time to develop.
True.
That's why you don't see bodybuilders winning shows at young ages. Most bodybuilders win shows in their late 30s because it takes so long to build muscle. It takes a long time to build muscle. So when you see some of these NFL guys kind of looking bigger and thicker, older, it's because they're developing the muscle.
That's a good point too. I think that's another thing that people get twisted too. There's a whole conversation about, when some guy takes testosterone or whatever, and they're just like, maybe they're working out like twice a week and they don't see those results. Like, shit. I feel like
it's not. There's absolutely nothing miracle about steroids or HRT or anything like that. If you don't put in the work, you don't get the results, and that's a fact. That's a fact.
Let's move into, because now you are one of the people I could talk to for 4 hours.
It's all good.
But still, I want to talk about this brand because one of the reasons I brought you on is I have a brand that I'm introducing to Miami, and I love the way you grew this brand. I've seen this thing everywhere, and then one of the biggest things that caught my eye, and for those who don't know, this is No Days Off, was your partnership with the Heat.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go straight there because we're already pulling up on an hour. Tell me about the breakdown of how this whole thing got started, because you have these gyms now, right?
Yeah.
And sooner or later, you're like, all right, well, I can do more.
Yeah. And I've always, so early on, when I popped that top, brother. Early on when I started my business. So when I knew I was gonna open up a gym, so my whole life I've always felt like I was meant for more. Like something inside of me says I'm meant for greatness, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
And so when I went to open my gym, and the first gym was a very humble, 2,500 square foot and a no AC warehouse in the middle of a dead end, in the middle of a crackhead street in the hood in Wynwood before it was Wynwood, 2008. But when I did it, I was like, I have to do something that goes beyond the gym walls. Something that goes beyond a product, something that goes beyond a piece of apparel, something that people could attach to their lives. And for me, I was obsessed with Nike and Jordan. That was like my thing, Michael Jordan, Bo Jackson, by far my greatest, athletes that I was like, they're the main, Oh, hell no. Don't even go there. That's a whole nother story.
Hell no.
No, he's a sheep, not a goat. But anyways, no, that's all. No, shout out to LeBron. He's awesome, but he's not Michael Jordan. But that's my age too. It's all like, it's your age. If you grew up when I grew up, you were a Jordan guy. That's just it is. And if you grew up in LeBron, you're a LeBron guy. I mean, I get it.
True.
Anyways, so, but when I saw that, I was thinking to myself, okay, how can I have something that people could attach to themselves? So with Nike, like, what's the first thing you think of when you hear Nike?
My first thing,
Yeah.
is the running shoe. Just because I read Shoe Dog.
From a
Cortez
statement though.
Oh, statement. The wording, right? Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
So if you hear Nike, you say just do it.
Just do it.
And then what's the first thing you think of when you think of Nike in terms of symbolism?
Symbolism. I think about the gods for some reason, just because
The swoosh.
the swoosh,
which is from the gods actually. So that's where they got it from.
True.
So I knew I needed something like that.
Okay.
I needed something that was recognizable, that people could be our badge, our when you see it, you say no days off.
Right.
And then I knew I needed a phrase, and that's where no days off came from. So no days off is never taking a day off on you. It's a commitment to becoming your best self.